Imagine this. You wake up one morning and realize that every decision you've ever made, every desire, every fear, every impulse was not truly yours. The job you chose, the relationships you pursued, the ambitions that kept you awake at night, all of them dictated by forces beyond your control. Was it society that programmed you? Your parents? Your biology? Or was it something even deeper, something far more insidious? Now consider this. If you had been born into a different family, in a different country, speaking a different language, would you still be the same person? Would you still have the same dreams, the same values? Would you even recognize yourself? If free will truly existed, shouldn't your core identity remain unchanged, untouched by circumstance? And yet, it doesn't. Every detail of your life, down to the food you enjoy, the music that moves you, the opinions you hold, has been sculpted by experiences you did not choose. We like to believe we are in control, that we are the architects of our own destiny. But is that belief itself just another illusion, another program running in the background of our minds? Think back to the last major decision you made. Did you consciously weigh all options, free from bias? Or did something beneath the surface push you toward a choice? Was it instinct, habit, a subtle influence planted in your mind years before you were even aware of it? Consider this disturbing paradox. If every choice you make is influenced by something, be it your upbringing, genetics, or subconscious conditioning, then is it truly a choice at all? And if you could somehow strip away all external influences, what would remain? Would you even recognize yourself without them? Or would you be a hollow shell, a blank slate waiting to be rewritten? Philosophers have wrestled with this question for centuries. Schopenhauer argued that while a man can do what he wills, he cannot will what he wills. Nietzsche saw free will as a comforting myth, a way for humans to cope with the chaos of existence. Modern neuroscience now suggests that decisions arise in the brain before we are even conscious of making them. In other words, by the time you think you've made a choice, your brain has already decided for you. So what does that mean for you? If free will is an illusion, then what drives your actions? And if you are not the true author of your own life, then who is? The answer is far more unsettling than you might expect. Because the real question isn't whether free will exists, it's whether you can ever escape the forces that control you. And that's where things get truly terrifying. You've lived your entire life under an assumption so deep, so unquestioned, that it feels like truth, that you are in control, that your desires, ambitions, and moral compass originate from within you, guided by some intrinsic force of will. But what if that assumption is nothing more than an elaborate illusion, carefully constructed by forces you never even noticed? Carl Jung believed that the conscious self is only a thin veneer, a fragile layer resting atop a vast and unruly unconscious mind. Beneath the surface, he argued, lie forces that shape our thoughts and actions, primordial instincts, inherited traumas, and cultural imprints we never chose. This is the shadow self, the part of you that acts and reacts before your rational mind even has a say. Schopenhauer took this idea further, to posing that human behavior is not dictated by reason, but by an irrational and insatiable force he called the will. A blind, unconscious drive that moves us like marionettes. You think you are making a choice, but in reality, you are obeying impulses you neither understand nor control. Even modern neuroscience confirms this eerie conclusion. Studies using brain scans reveal that decisions can be predicted before a person is even aware of making them. When you reach for a cup of coffee, when you choose between two options, when you decide to speak or stay silent, the neurons fire before you consciously decide to act. Your body and brain move before your free will catches up. But this problem runs even deeper. Society itself is a machine of influence, shaping not just what we do, but what we want. From childhood, you are taught what is desirable, what is acceptable, what is worthy of pursuit. Your tastes, your moral framework, your sense of self, they are all products of a vast system of conditioning. Think about it. Did you choose your beliefs? Or were they given to you? Did you decide your fears? Or were they instilled in you? Did you construct your identity? Or was it shaped by the expectations of your culture, your religion, your era in history? Jean-Paul Sartre argued that most people do not live authentically because they are trapped in bad faith, the act of deceiving oneself into believing that external expectations are their own. We follow the script handed to us by society, mistaking it for genuine choice. We say we want success, but is it truly our desire, or the desire implanted in us by an economic system that equates worth with productivity? Is the hidden problem the unsettling realization that what you think of as you may in fact be nothing more than an accumulation of influences, a carefully woven tapestry of genetics, culture, subconscious drives, and neurological processes operating beyond your control? So where does that leave you? If everything that makes you you is determined by forces outside of your grasp, does that mean you are merely an actor playing out a script written long before you were born? Or is there a way to break free? If free will is an illusion, then rebellion must begin with an uncomfortable truth. You are not in control, but you can learn to influence the forces that control you. This is not about rejecting all conditioning, nor about pretending you exist outside of cause and effect. It is about hacking the system. First, embrace awareness. Viktor Frankl, a man who survived the horrors of Auschwitz, discovered something radical in the midst of unimaginable suffering. While we cannot always control our circumstances, we can control our response to them. Between stimulus and response, there is a space where we can choose our reaction. It is in that space that freedom begins. Second, practice disruption. The mind is a pattern-seeking machine, relying on habits, biases, and narratives implanted by culture. To break free, you must disrupt the script, challenge assumptions, step into discomfort. Train yourself to question why you desire what you desire. Is it truly yours, or an echo of someone else's expectation? Lastly, cultivate creation. True freedom is not about rejecting all external influence, but about consciously choosing which influences to embrace. Curate your environment. Seek ideas that expand rather than confine. Build an identity that is not just a reflection of past conditioning, but a deliberate construction of the future self you wish to become. You may never have absolute free will, but you can seize something far more powerful: the ability to shape the forces that shape you. Imagine this: everything you've ever believed about yourself, your choices, your identity, shattered in an instant. The realization that your life has been scripted by invisible hands is terrifying. Yes, but it also holds within it a radical promise. Because once you see the strings, you can begin to cut them. The first step toward rebellion is to embrace a truth so counterintuitive it feels almost absurd. You must accept that you are not fully in control to reclaim control. This paradoxical shift in perspective is the key to liberation. It means acknowledging the hidden forces that have shaped you, your upbringing, your biology, your culture, and then consciously choosing how to respond to them. Consider Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who endured the unimaginable horrors of Auschwitz. Stripped of everything, his family, his freedom, his dignity, Frankl discovered something profound. Even in the most oppressive circumstances, there remains a space between stimulus and response. Within that space lies your power. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. This realization is revolutionary. It means that no matter how deeply conditioned you are, no matter how powerful the external forces, you always retain the ability to choose your reaction. But awareness alone is not enough. To truly break free, you must actively disrupt the patterns that govern your life. Your mind is a machine built on habits, biases, and narratives, scripts written by others. To rewrite your story, you must first dismantle the old one. This means deliberately stepping into discomfort, challenging your assumptions, and questioning your desires. Ask yourself, why do you want what you want? Is it truly your desire, or is it an echo of someone else's expectation? When you chase success, is it because it genuinely fulfills you, or because society has conditioned you to equate worth with productivity? When you fear failure, is it your own fear, or one instilled by parents, teachers, or peers? Throughout history, those who have broken free from conditioning have done so by embracing radical disruption. Socrates questioned everything, even at the cost of his life, because he understood that true wisdom begins with doubt. Galileo defied centuries of dogma, risking persecution to reveal a truth that changed humanity's understanding of the universe. Rosa Parks refused to follow the script society had written for her, igniting a movement that reshaped history. These rebels understood something crucial. Freedom is not passive. It is an active, deliberate rebellion against the forces that seek to define you. It is the courage to stand apart, to question relentlessly, and to choose consciously. But rebellion is not merely about destruction. It is also about creation. Once you've disrupted the old patterns, you must consciously build new ones. True freedom lies not in rejecting all external influences, but in deliberately choosing which influences to embrace. Curate your environment. Surround yourself with ideas that expand rather than confine. Seek out experiences that challenge rather than comfort. Construct an identity that is not merely a reflection of past conditioning, but a deliberate creation of the future self you wish to become. This is your power, the ability to shape the forces that shape you. You may never achieve absolute free will, but you can achieve something far more profound: the freedom to consciously influence your own conditioning. To become not just an actor playing out a predetermined script, but a co-author of your own story. Imagine the liberation of this realization. Imagine waking up each day knowing that while you cannot control every circumstance, you can always control your response. Imagine the strength that comes from consciously choosing your influences, from deliberately crafting your identity, from actively shaping your destiny. This is the rebellion, This is how you break free. But there is one final truth, one deeper, more unsettling, and ultimately more liberating than anything you've encountered so far. It is a realization that redefines reality itself, a paradigm shift so profound it makes every past struggle suddenly clear. Imagine this. Beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the external influences, beneath even your conscious choices, there lies something unchanging, something essential. It is not your personality, not your beliefs, not your desires. These are all shaped by circumstance. It is something deeper, something more fundamental. It is awareness itself. You are not your thoughts. You are not your emotions. You are not your conditioning. You are the awareness behind them, the silent observer who watches thoughts arise and fade, who witnesses emotions come and go, who experiences conditioning without being defined by it. This realization is revolutionary. It means that your true self is not something that can be conditioned, influenced, or controlled. It is something beyond circumstance, beyond biology, beyond culture. It is pure, unconditioned awareness. When you understand this, everything changes. You see that your struggles, your fears, your desires, they are all temporary phenomena arising within awareness. They do not define you. They cannot imprison you. Because you are not the content of your mind, you are the space in which that content arises. This insight has echoed through history, whispered by mystics, philosophers, and sages. The Buddha taught that liberation comes from recognizing the impermanence of thoughts and emotions, from seeing clearly that you are not your mind. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reminded himself daily that he was not his circumstances, but the awareness observing them. Modern neuroscience now confirms what ancient wisdom has always known. The self is not a fixed entity, but a fluid process of awareness. This is the ultimate truth. This is the final, most powerful realization. You are not the puppet. You are the stage upon which the puppet dances. You are not the script. You are the blank page upon which it is written. You are not the conditioned self. You are the awareness that transcends conditioning. Imagine the freedom of this realization. Imagine the peace that comes from knowing that nothing external can truly define you. Imagine the power of living from this place of pure awareness, of responding consciously rather than reacting unconsciously. This is your birthright. This is your true nature. And now, knowing this, you must choose. Will you continue to live as a puppet, controlled by invisible strings? Or will you awaken to your true self, reclaim your power, and consciously shape your destiny? The choice is yours, but choose carefully, because once you see the truth, you can never unsee it. Once you awaken, you can never go back to sleep. This is your moment of truth. This is your awakening.